Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review, where we are here to explore teas, try teas out, and look at different kinds of teas. Talk about varietals in some sense. This is one of those that I'm going to mention a little bit about varietals of teas. So let's go ahead and get this one started. This is a Taiwanese tea, and when you may be noticing that I've got this outer bag. And inside the outer bag is with this inner bag, and this inner bag was vacuum sealed when I got it, or at least a lot of the air removed from it. Maybe not a perfectly, drawn up tight vacuum, but still a lot of air being removed from that. I'm going to get out my spoon. Well, I'm actually not going to get out my spoon because this is a Baozhong, and this Baozhong, the leaves are pretty fluffy. They stick out quite a bit, so it's not as easy to scoop. In this case, I'm going to simply pour in, and I'm going to pour in enough. This is a 4-ounce gaiwan. Pour in enough so that I don't really see the bottom, say, inch to inch and a half diameter of the bottom of my gaiwan here. I'm going to just rake it in a little bit. Some things that you may want to note. If you use fragrances on your hands or body, if your soap has a strong fragrance to it, you may want to avoid contact touching the leaves. It can put off the natural aromas of a tea, something that you may have noticed before. My water's been brought to a boil, and it's been cooling now for a minute or so as I've been talking here. But let me just close that up for a minute and set that aside. I'll come back and talk a little bit about that dry leaf in just a moment. But I'm going to give this a pour. Make sure I get enough so that a little bit of water rests above the rim of my lid here. That looks good. There we are. Set this water out of the way in the kettle there. Now, let's talk about this tea and kind of introduce it as it's steeping over here. This is from Rishi Tea. This is their QingXinBaoZhongHandPicked. Okay. You can find 50 grams available for $7. This one was harvested from the, if I remember correctly, if I wrote it correctly, the Mingjian village in the Nantou area. The Nantou being the larger town, city in the area of that region in Taiwan. This is a mid-April harvest. Okay. Yeah, that takes care of a lot of that. A lot of these, keep in mind, in Taiwan, a lot of your farms are smaller, just a few acres in size. They're not the big type of plantations that you may think of when you think of like India or something like that. But we're going to talk about this leaf. We're going to give a smell of the leaf, kind of look at the leaf quality here. I'm going to make sure that lid stays on there, it doesn't rattle around too much. But let's give this one a smell now. Not a lot of floral aroma coming off at this point. It's more of a kind of a stale, not stale leaf. There's a bit of a kind of cardboard type smell coming off. A little bit of a wood or stem dried lumber type smell, wood coming off of that. But let's look at the leaves a little bit, see what we can find here. One thing you may be noting is that this is the QingXin varietal, which is in Taiwan sometimes called the Luanza varietal, or maybe even just the oolong. There will be times when you hear people say there will be two oolongs in the category of oolong, and a Taiwanese person may say, I prefer the oolong over in this case, another kind of varietal, say Jinshuan. And because QingXin is often considered the kind of prototypical, the original oolong varietal in Taiwan. Now these leaves, they're not like other Taiwanese, like a large category like Dongding style of oolongs from Taiwan. These are, instead of being bald like those Dongding styles can be, this one is crinkled along the length of the leaf. So you get leaves that are, say, nearly 2 inches in length in some cases. I'm looking to see, yes, sometimes you get, this one has examples of leaf sets or pairs of leaves. You see some, I actually see some silver and kind of fuzz there, indicating some needles that are present. You're getting dark, rich green, a little bit of bluish color, but a little bit more of the greenish gray type colors coming out there. And in most cases, these leaves look wider, larger type of leaves. Not, I mean, they're not the earliest harvest, or I mean, sorry, the most delicate leaf, newest leaf, but they're not necessarily like a pu'er size, extremely large leaf either. Okay. So let me put these, return these to the bag. Another thing to note, and I'm going to show that as well. With oolongs, you generally try to keep them away from exposure to too much oxygen. So the solution to that, at least in Rishi's case, may not seem that ecologically friendly, but in the end it is highly beneficial to have a package that was sealed for freshness to keep that oxygen out, with an oxygen absorbing powder. A packet, of course, do not eat this, but that goes in there to help keep it fresher. And then after you have opened the package, you have the external package here, which also allows, or comes with, I should say, a vacuum, a zip top, in order to keep it fresher as well. So that takes care of our dry leaf. Let's go ahead and get ready to pour here and talk a little bit about our wet leaf and our liquor. So I'm going to get my pitcher out here. I'm going to push my leaves over to the side a little bit. Take my gaiwan with my middle finger and thumb, and I hold my lid with my index finger. Get a nice smooth pour. Make sure you take your time and get those last few drops to come out down from the bottom, where the liquor was probably more intense, steeped closer to the leaves, probably has stronger color and aroma. Now let's give this leaf a smell here. Quite fragrant, quite sweet, quite floral. My first reactions was a little bit of hyacinth, a very light amount of almost kind of like a graham cracker type note there. I have heard other people equate this combination with pineapple, kind of a warm baked pineapple, roasted pineapple type smell. And yes, I could see that. I could be persuaded that that's what this rightly is. Let's go ahead and pull out a few of these leaves. So anyway, it's nice, sweet, and floral. Let me get that leaf section out, and let's just pull out a few of these leaves. As I mentioned, you have some pretty good sized leaves here, over probably 2 inches or more. Looking at the edges, they do look a little. You can see some light, just very light touches of oxidation, a little bit of light brown there. Okay, so that's a nice full intact leaf. Feeling very supple, delicate there, not thick or coarse. You can also look at these leaves and notice how slender they are. Okay, and let me see if I can get out see if there's a leaf set in here as well. This one's noted for being hand-picked, so you do get some kind of needles here as well that you talked about. But no, what I'm really saying about hand-picked is if there are any kind of stems, or where the leaf actually was connected to the plant, you should get more of an uneven cut, which is what I'm showing here. And so I'm going to pull this stem out just to kind of show it was broken off rather than sliced with a clean cut. Here's another one as well. I'm going to put this one in. So it's more of a crushed or squeezed type of look to it, not necessarily an angled slice about it. Okay, so it looks good. Nice bright green colors. I mean, at first glance, this looks like this could be confused with like a sage leaf. That kind of color to it. That kind of silvery grayish green present there. Okay. So, moving on though, and talking about this liquor, let's go ahead and give it a swirl here, so we can kind of get through the fog of collected on the glass there. Still the sweet floral. The hyacinth is thinner now, is lighter. There's still something kind of warm and toasty. And again, that can be a little bit of graham cracker, a little bit of baked pineapple coming out. So it does, it's heat, toasted, a little bit baked kind of smells there. The clarity is nice. I mean, it's got a good brightness to it. Not dull or flat by any means. Okay. Again, when you look down through the liquor as well in the cup, same thing. Nice, good clearness there. You see through it. Not any kind of dullness or drab-looking aspect to this. One more shot here. Good, I'd say good aromas. It's still got that nice sweetness. It's got a rounded aspect to it as well. And I mentioned a little bit of that toasted, baked kind of aspect, that kind of floral sweetness there. It's not overly powering though, not overpowering though. The broth though, I would have to say in previous tastings I got a thicker, heavier broth. In this particular case, the broth has lightened up. It's not the smooth coating that I recall from the previous steeping. The aftertaste, I'm waiting for some of that to kind of pick up, because in the aftertaste kind of does leave a nice, lightly astringent. There is an astringency here. It's not overpowering. It rests on kind of the sides and underneath the tongue, actually, as you taste. And then the aftertaste, this kind of slightly astringent, slightly heavy, thick kind of feeling builds up in the back and sides of your mouth, and it just seems to kind of spread out around, easing its way towards the front of your mouth, easing its way under your tongue towards the front of your mouth as well. So it gives a little bit of a sweetness. It gives it this kind of mouth smacking kind of desire, in that a little bit of, like I said, a coating, yet still a little bit drying as well. So overall, that's a pleasant, positive note. I would say yes, let this tea cool and you'll be able to detect more coming off of it. So, looking at this tea as a whole, I would probably give this tea an 89. It's got some nice components to it. It's got that aftertaste that carries on with this kind of sweet astringency that just kind of seems to begin to kind of flood the mouth, making a heavy, thick kind of feel there. It's got nice floral components that are balanced. They're not overwhelming. They're not just fake kind of heavy, artificial kind of heavy feel. Surrounded with that pineapple, with that, like I said, that kind of baked kind of graham cracker aspect to it. If anything, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a brothy type feel. Baozhongs are not necessarily known for having the most excessive mouthfeel, but still, this one could bring out a little more. So, come back to Walker Tea Review, and we will look at Baozhongs, we'll look at others, we'll talk about varietals, and see what else we can uncover.